folks, welcome to the Prepared Homestead. This is Travis. Yeah, it's a little different view. I'm in the shop. We have been busy all day running around, and things didn't work out like I had planned on video making. This happens around here, so I'm making one out here in the shop because it's dark outside and it's cold and it's a little warmer in here. And I haven't got the wood stove set up in here yet, so it's a chilly, but definitely warmer than outside. Really wasn't sure what to even talk about because, like I said, we've just been crazy busy today. One of those days. We ended up running into a really wonderful couple. We stopped at the farm store and pick up a few things and met this couple they're viewers here on this channel, and maybe you're watching now. And they have moved here recently from the state of Oregon. They're not too far from us, actually, it turns out. And just was a real good conversation with them. And the one thing that, not the only thing, but one thing that I took away from it was what a blessing it is to meet other people that are like-minded, good, godly people that are moving here, that are waking up and realizing that what's going on in this world is quite awful. And, you know, is it the worst thing that's ever happened? Maybe not. But I think for those of us that know our history, those of us that are trying to really stay aware of what's going on now and what's happened in our past, we see the handwriting on the wall. You know, it's not as bad as it's been, and you know, a lot of places in history. And think of the Revolutionary War. Before that happened, the British were treating the American people really horribly. It wasn't just about taxes. The quartering of troops in the homes, and the seizing of private property, and the physical and even sometimes sexual abuse that was going on towards the colonists from the British soldiers was a big part of why the colonists decided it was time to cut ties with England. And so they were going through some pretty horrible times, and you know, you could easily make the argument probably worse than it is now for us. And other times in history, you know, how the Scots were being treated, and on and on. But we also know our history. We have more knowledge than they did in the past. At least we have it available if we want it, because we have all this knowledge of history. And we know where this kind of behavior leads us. We know what happens when a people allow a government to seize more and more power. When we know what happens when a certain segment of society is allowed to take over and use the power of the state to impose their will upon people. We know what happens in history when a nation decides that its morality is no longer important to them. We know what happens when a nation falls into debt so much so that they could never pay it back in 1,000 lifetimes. We've seen this happen in history, so we know where it's headed. I mean, it doesn't mean it's going to happen next week or next month or next year. It could, and it does seem that the incremental growth of tyranny that we've seen over the last couple of decades and even longer in this nation has changed from being incremental growth to being expeditious growth. Just in the last 12 months, I did a video over on Patreon, I believe it was yesterday, of the trampling of liberty that is happening at a rate that I don't know that anyone ever thought we would see in our lifetime. The audaciousness of the state, of government, of the police powers that are just trampling on just about everything that we could think of when it comes to individual rights. This weekend, it's a holiday weekend. Lots and lots of people traditionally would be spending the day with their family. Big families, houses packed full of people. But not this year. No, 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 no. Many places this year, they're forced to bow to the state. And the state tells them that it's too dangerous to have people in your house. That that's not acceptable. And many, many other crazy laws, that alcohol sales are banned, or, encouraging people not to sing or not to raise their voices. And it's ignorant, for the lack of more politically correct words. So maybe it's not as bad as it once was 250 years ago, or at other points in human history where it wasn't just your liberty on the line, but it was really your life on a daily basis that was put on the line. But what we do know is this kind of behavior always leads to a point where our lives can and will be put on the line. Let me just say this. When freedom is taken away, it's never gotten back without a fight. When you hand over your freedom, whether it's willingly or taken away by force, you're not going to get that freedom back without a fight. It's just not going to happen. It never does. At no point is the state, the local government, the federal government going to say, okay, we've achieved true safety, true health, everything is complete, now here's back your freedom. It's not going to happen. And so, where does that leave us? Do we take a stand and do we fight to regain some of that liberty back? Or maybe all of it under a completely new system? Or do we just roll over and realize the system is too big to fight? That's what a lot of people think. I don't have the answer, but what I can tell you is even though we may not be at that point right now, in this moment, where we have to make that decision, or we may not be at that point right now where our lives are truly being threatened, and the physical harm to us is at the threshold. But I believe that we will get to that point eventually, because tyranny, it's like a virus. If there is any true pandemic going on, it's tyranny. Because tyranny never stops. It only stops when it's completely destroyed. It never slows down. It never gives an inch. It never concedes anything. It's always constantly growing and consuming everything. And so, while they may not have crossed the line that you've drawn in the sand today, mark my word, they will eventually. So, as you sit at home by yourself this Thanksgiving, or maybe you're just a rebel without a cause and you have 20 people in your home, think about your freedoms. Think about where they come from. Think about how it came to be that we had them here and what people went through to get them. Not just here in America, but throughout human history. And think about where you will stand, where your line in the sand is drawn, what you will do or you will not do. Because whether it's in our lifetime or in our children's lifetime, there will come a day where your freedoms and your life is truly threatened because we have allowed this monstrosity of tyranny to permeate our society far too long. Its tentacles are everywhere. So, I guess that's your homework for this weekend. All right, folks. Sorry for the different kind of video. Oh, right. Well, thank you all for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video.